think that that's true of any society. I think there has to be some shared glue, right? Here we used to have like patriotism. We used to have all sorts of things that were a shared glue. That's all gone, right? Now I have to share my country with communists, right? And it used to be that we persecuted communists. That was so base. We get back to that. Can we get back to fucking persecuting the communists? But the point is like this type of poison, in my opinion, is so invasive to the fabric of the United States that people who literally tell me they can't ground anything in nothing, know that they can't ground anything in nothing, that there's no such thing as moral facts, then tell me it's wrong if I stuff them in a rape cage. And it's like, what are you talking about? That's the stupidest shit that I've ever heard in my life, but that's my opposition, unfortunately. And so they appeal to the benevolence of those like me in order to prevent us from doing the thing that they don't want, that they don't even believe we shouldn't do because there are no moral facts. That's the retarded state of the world that we're in.
And Andrew is very magnanimous for not stuffing lowly communists like me in gulags and whatnot.
Were you always?
Yeah, well, I mean, from your view, how is that anything but benevolent? Why shouldn't I? As a moral anti-realist, why shouldn't I do that? What would make that immoral? Tell me, what would make it immoral as a moral anti-realist for me to stuff your ass in a gulag? What?
It's a more consequentialist outlook that I think that based off the outcomes.
Wait, there's no moral facts, right?
No, they're not real facts, no. But,
so then there's nothing I'm really doing that's immoral, is there?
No.
No.
Again, that's highly... No, I disagree with you. I'm saying
in a gulag, is that immoral? No.
It's immoral, but not under the same framework. I'm not using the same, like the moral realist framework to say that it's wrong. It's wrong for other reasons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do you believe in objective truth?
No.
No, is that true?
Subjective.
Okay, so you believe in it. You don't believe in objective truth.
Are you like a math realist?
Hang on, and I ask you if that's true, and you say no, that's not true either. So I can't believe anything you say, and you don't believe that there's any such thing as rights. But it's wrong for me to do something bad to you, even though there's no moral facts. Fucking genius. This is your opposition, ladies and gentlemen. These are the communists who are taking over academia and teaching your kids.
So wait, what's your, What if you believe that, then I think that goes to show that there are, more powerful means than simply force to be able to enact your political will amongst the masses and the population. You're saying that there are soft power and institutions that you can access that can erode these sorts of protections for Christians, for moral people, etc. And there's not even a single drop of bloodshed. There's not a bullet shot
if they
ever.
wanted to be.
But there
could be if we wanted it to be.
Not,
and you got to appeal to. You got to
They're
appeal.
using soft power, and that in and of itself is pretty
but
strong.
What will win, soft power or force? In the end,
force will win. But I'm saying that I don't think that even under his view, he's not discounting that there is a significant advantage in having these sorts of soft power and having access over these institutions, even if they're, academia or whatever,
there
over
is,
media,
but the only
over
reason
culture,
it works
etc.
is because you're appealing to people that say if you kind of just come in here with force that's wrong, and we have a moral order that would tell you that it's.
But it still works.
So what you're doing is, and what a lot of women do, we can maybe go back to the feminism thing for a bit, is appeal to emotion. And say a morality, an objective morality, to say it is wrong to enslave other people. It is wrong to use violence against people because they don't believe. And this is what the left has done. This is why they've worked, because they appeal to the goodwill of Christians, particularly women, and empathy that says, oh, I feel bad for this immigrant who's just murdered an American child or a nursing student. The amount of tears that were wept for somebody like Lake and Riley over some arbitrary person they don't know that isn't from this country, a small child that hasn't, like a 5-year-old who supposedly was taken in by ICE. It's unbelievable. It's selective empathy. It's empathy in this broad. I'm not saying compassion isn't there, but these women have this empathy for broad, abstract people more than the people closest to them, more than the family. This Renee Good woman put her own family in jeopardy. She is now has her son or daughter is without a mother because of this abstract idea of that we should protect some boy that she doesn't know. I think empathy should work in the particular. If you're going to put yourself in someone else's shoes, know who that person is. But this kind of broad, abstract, we should feel good. We should feel for everybody. You can only do so much. And she put some broad abstraction of children in cages, whatever the moral appeal was, over her very own family.
So you don't think it's virtuous to have concern for other people, even if you don't know them?
No, I think that's compassion. I think I think there's an order of virtue. I think she misplaced her priorities. She misplaced her emotions. She misplaced who she should be caring for first. You have a child. Are you going to put that child's life at risk to go fight for some cause where you could potentially die and leave that child alone? Are you going to go fight for some abstract cause and abandon your child for that?
So your argument is that her duties were misaligned or out of order because she was prioritizing other people's kids, strangers, etc., over her own personal family. But I don't think that Renee Good woke up that morning thinking that she was going to be shot in the head 3 times, even with the actions that she was taking.
But why would you take that risk? You know you're going to an armed conflict where there's force, where there's a potential...
Wait, an armed conflict?
Oh, there's ICE agents, there's people with guns around. I would never do...
Yeah, but I view that differently as an armed conflict. This happened in like a cul-de-sac, right? Or like a suburb.
Fair point.
Yeah, but why would you go into potentially dangerous situation? The tensions have been known to be heightened in Minneapolis, right? Why would you just abandon your duties and responsibilities as a mother to your child to go fight for some abstract cause where the reality is you're not going to make much of a difference?
So, well, there's, I guess, 2 things that I have to dispute with that.
Yeah.
For one, again, I don't think that she views this as sort of like an all or nothing thing. I don't believe that she thought that as she was doing that, she was going to be abandoning, or one, she didn't anticipate that she was going to be shot in the head 3 times. 2, I don't think that she believed that by making that choice, it's mutually exclusive, and therefore by going to this ICE protest that she was going to be abandoning her family, for one. So I think that kind of explains her subjective, rational state of mind. But then the second part of your question was like, why would you do that? And it's the same reason that Kyle Rittenhouse decided to take up arms and head to Kenosha and take matters into his own hands as far as he saw, and try to defend the police, defend buildings or whatever, because he had a superseding moral principle and duty that he felt he was compelled to act on.
But he didn't have a family.
Kyle Rittenhouse didn't have a family?
No,
you mean like he didn't have kids?
He doesn't have a father. He's not a father. I wonder if that would change his decision-making process to go into a risky situation.
He has a mother.
Right, but he's not responsible for the life of another human being right now, or at that moment that he made that decision.
So
that very based decision.
Yeah.
So then single people, you're fine with doing this because they don't have a duty to their children because they have no children to speak of, or no, that wouldn't be okay either.
Well, no, my risk calculations of what I do on a day-to-day basis are much different than probably a woman with children. Yeah, absolutely they are.
Different, but if Renee Good had been single, would you be saying, oh, well, it's okay because she wasn't in violation of her moral duty to her son?
I would say that the calculation would be different.
In what way? You're just saying it's different, but in what way would it be different?
Well, she's not considering she has to take care of a family when she goes home, or she has a moral responsibility for her son. So I'm going to be more risk tolerant to go into situations that's highly charged, where there is the possibility of force, where is the possibility of her getting hurt. And she didn't back down. That was the thing. They were very antagonistic to these ICE officers.
It just seems like a red herring, because I think that you fundamentally believe that she was fighting for a cause that was not righteous and that is unjust. And why not make the criticism on that grounds instead of saying, well, it's actually immoral because she has a duty to her family and to her son. I'm sorry. What did you think it was?
I just think I think her priorities are disordered. I didn't say it was immoral.
Okay, well, her priorities were disordered, but again, then the disordered priorities just seems like a red herring to me, because it doesn't really seem like that's the thing you're really sanctioning her for or indicting her for. It does seem like the issue is that you don't really think that the cause was just, because if the cause became just enough, then it would reach a threshold where suddenly you would say that the duties maybe there could be leniency as far as them being reordered.
I don't think so. I don't think any social cause
than your family or you as an individual.
I don't think there's any social cause worth risking your life for and risking leaving your child without a mother. I don't.
So how do you feel about ICE agents then? because they're putting themselves in a risky, difficult position. These ICE agents have family. They're going out
They're
there
men.
with guns. Do
They're
they
not.
not have
They're
moral
not
duties
charged
to their
with
family.
They're not charged. They're not charged with the nurturing and taking care of their children.
But they
They're
still have
charged to
moral duties
protect.
to their families.
They do, but they have different. They have different capacities. Like we said, they're more forceful. They're more likely to be safe in that situation than a woman is.
But you're just saying they're different. They're different.
They
And
are different.
I agree that they're different, but why this leniency for men to be engaged in these sorts of behaviors and not following their duty of not putting themselves in situations
Because they
that
have
could
different
wind
roles.
up dead.
Because
But
fathers and
women
mothers have
can.
different roles within the family. Their charge is to protect and defend. A mother's role is to nourish and
Okay.
and
So, male ICE officers, okay. Female ICE officers, how do you feel about that?
I would probably argue it's not. I mean, do you have a family? Is
A
she?
female ICE officer with a family. Do you think that she's engaged in something immoral?
No, I didn't say it's
Or,
immoral. I think
sorry. You're right. You didn't say that. You did say that their priorities are misaligned, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you say that the female ICE agent with a family has misaligned priorities?
Yes.
Okay. If Kyle Rittenhouse had been a woman or a teenage girl instead of a boy, would you be condemning them?
I'm not condemning anybody, but I would say, does that
Or
teenage...
indicting their character, their actions, their choices because it was a girl doing it now instead of a boy?
Does that girl have a family?
Yes.
Then yeah.
Then it just comes down to, it really just comes down to whether or not they have kids. And if she didn't have a family, then you wouldn't be criticizing them.
I would say it was a stupid move, but I don't think I would be as maybe judgmental. Correct.
Okay.
You're talking about people getting whipped into a frenzy, like a moral frenzy to go fight for some purpose that they barely understand. And I keep thinking like the war in Iraq, weapons of mass destruction. They rallied the men to go fight some conflict. They garnered my empathy with 9/11, and then they used it for conflict. But do you think that feminism, this whole bent, has made it so that they're drawing women into that frenzy? Because seeing women out on the street marching like this, it feels like, it does feel like, I mean, it feels like the United States is being manipulated by the world through the internet. Like liberalism is being obliterated with new ideas. And so I do think that people are like, yes, break up the family, poison yourselves, eat bad food. This is how we'll defeat you from within. But I mean, the argument I'm getting is that feminism has led to now enticing women into this toxically empathic state of being. Whereas they used to not give a shit. They wouldn't go out.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Culture War podcast. We're live every Friday, 10 a.m. to noon, so subscribe and come hang out.